Okay, and we're live. Well, not live. Okay, so welcome back to the first day of class. This is Math 1109, Math for Business Calculus at Fordham. These guys are wondering, a few semesters ago I started lecturing my classes. I post them on YouTube and students like it, so that if I'm going too fast for you in class, you can, go over the videos and look over anything. Watch me in slow motion if you want. Get notes that you missed. But for today, we're not going to do much. We're just pretty much going to go over the syllabus, the rules for the class, and how things are going to work. So to introduce myself, I'm yes. I did not expect that many. Okay, so we're just going to go over the syllabus. So that's me, Jhevon Smith. You can call me Jhevon, that's fine. I don't have any more copies. But on the syllabus, there's my website. You can write it down, and there's a copy there. As well as, I'll put one on Blackboard as well. So, I thought I printed enough, but I think more of them showed up than expected. So you can call me Jhevon, is fine. This is my email, jsmith306@fordham.edu. That's right, I'm the 306th J Smith to pass through Fordham. Don't really feel special. Those are my office hours right there. That's my website where I'll be posting, as I said, many things, including this syllabus. I will post there. I will also post things like answers to quizzes, solutions to tests, things of that nature. Any handouts I give in class, I'll also post it there. Any announcements, I'll post there, things like that. I'll probably also post on Blackboard, but I kind of don't like using Blackboard, so maybe, maybe not. So the textbook for the class, which you probably won't need, you can get it if you want to, but if they have it in the library, you really only need the textbook for homework problems. I'm really going to be writing everything on the board that you need to know. You probably don't need the textbook, but it's going to be Briefly Applied Calculus by Stewart and Clegg. And that's the math department location, so it's in this building. It's on the 4th floor. That's the main office. There's also a math help room, which we'll talk about later, which I believe is in 410. But that's the math department office, so it's on the 4th floor. It's something you should know. That's the math department website, where you can find more information about the course. And yeah, so we're going to go through the syllabus. Scientific calculators are allowed, so that's the first important thing. No graphing calculators, because I will ask you to graph things, and so I don't want the calculator to do the work for you. But scientific calculators are allowed. That's the grading table. That's how I'm going to be assigning grades. But for the most part, I'm grading on a curve. So these grades are kind of like the default brain dead, So let's say you're going along in this class and you just kind of show up, you don't really do anything. I don't see improvement. I don't see you showing up to office hours. I don't see you going to the math help room. From my perspective, I see you making no attempt to do better. Then I'm just going to give you the grade on this. But I do grade you for more than that. Yes?
So I was looking at their grading scale. So 8 for 4.0 is 90 going to 100.
Yes.
But on the Fordham.edu, it shows that 93 to 100 is 4.0. Is that a typo or?
Oh, I'll have to double check. I thought it was 94, but I'll double check.
And 8 minus is 92 and 92.
Okay, I'll double check the grade. Other than that, the grade breakdown for the class is going to be as follows. So I'm going to be giving quizzes. You're pretty much going to have a quiz every week that we don't have a test. So you're going to be tested every week, either by a quiz or a test. So quizzes are worth 20% of your grades. Homework is 10%. Participation, which is mostly attendance. I took attendance in the beginning. That's 5%. In-class tests, that's going to be 30% of your grade, and the final is 30%. Okay, the policy on makeups, you have to have a very good reason, documented reason. Attendance, again, is mandatory, and I am giving you points for it, so you should take advantage of that. Let's skip to my expectations. Basically, don't slack off. I know it's math class. I know you're all excited for the first day of class, but don't get too excited. You need to be very focused. Start from day one. You'll be surprised how much math you can forget in like a month. You know, you went off on vacation. You know, I forgot Calc 1 in like 2 months once, like over summer vacation. Did Calc 1 when I was in high school in the spring. Came back in the fall, couldn't remember the simplest thing. So you really want to start off on the right foot here and really go back over your work. Homework, I'm going to be assigning homework. Again, that's from the textbook. It's going to be written that you have to hand in. You have to hand it in according to these specifications, which are the list of 5 things here. Prerequisites, well, you need pre-calc for this class because it's going to be a calc class. And I will expect you to know all that stuff. So I expect you to know how to know about polynomials, know how to graph basic functions, know how to solve equations, solve quadratic equations, solve linear equations, solve inequalities, things of that sort. You know, be good at algebraic manipulation and simplifying stuff because that's going to be important. Algebra is super important for calculus, and a lot of times when students do bad in calculus, they're actually bad at algebra. Right? The calculus part is actually not so bad. Another important section, very, very bad mistakes that you should not make because they carry a very high penalty. There's a list of 6 items here. 4 and 5 you probably don't know about yet because that involves calculus, which I haven't taught you. But the other things you would have seen before in algebra class, right? So because these are important, I should probably talk about what some of these mistakes are so you know to avoid them. Do not do under any circumstance. Right? And if someone's holding a gun to your head, 1 is canceling cross sums. What do I mean by canceling cross sums? Well, let's say you have something like 1 over 2. That is wrong, right? Very wrong. And that carries a very high penalty. Why? Because there is a sum, right? You cannot cancel across a sum. If there's a plus or minus separating terms, you cannot cancel it. Same thing if it goes 2x minus 1, right? Sum here is the general. Could be plus or minus, right? Again, in this case, you cannot cancel the 2's. This is wrong. Very bad. Okay. You can only cancel across multiplication and division. So if you had 2, and there's a parentheses, x plus 1 over 2, then that's okay. You can cancel it. Okay? But if there are pluses or minuses separating terms, you cannot cancel it. It is illegal. And I will punish you very heavily for it. Another common mistake that students make in algebra that causes a lot of disruptions is distributing powers across sums. So the second thing that you will not do under any circumstance is distributing powers. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you have something like x plus 2 squared. And you write x squared plus 2 squared. That is wrong. Okay, you cannot distribute the power across a sum. There are pluses and minuses separating terms. You cannot put the power on each individual term. In the same way, if you have a radical, you have to remember that, hopefully you remember from algebra that radicals are really powers. You cannot say this is radical x plus radical 2. That is also incorrect. What is x plus 2 all squared?
X squared plus 2x plus 4.
X squared plus
2x.
4x.
4x plus 4.
And there's a formula for that. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. You can also remember that that's really just you multiplying things out. When you're at a square, you're multiplying them out, and then you have to FOIL. So, very bad mistake, causes a lot of issues. And remember that radicals are powers. So if I see the square root of something, or the cube root of something, or something similar to that, it's really a power. Do you remember what the radical power means? Like if I wrote square root of x, can you write that as a power? Yeah. X to the 1/2. What about the cube root of x squared? Can you write that as a power? That's going to be important. Being able to go from radicals to powers is going to be important. A lot of the rules that we have in calculus, they are defined in terms of powers. And so if you see radicals and stuff, you're going to want to rewrite them in general. So you should remember how to do that. Okay. Just check. Divided by 0. I don't know why people do this, but dividing by 0 makes no sense. So just like don't do it. Right, so like 1 over 0 is meaningless. Right, so a lot of people think that this is infinity. We'll talk a bit about why people might think that's infinity. Then I'll also talk about why it's wrong. But divided by 0 is meaningless. It's not infinity. It's not 0. It's not anything. You can't divide by 0. Okay, but that is something that I see often enough to be disturbing. The other two mistakes, again, those are calculus-based, so when we get to those, you'll realize what those mistakes are. Also, what's in bold there is another calculus mistake. But these are these are the ones that students tend to make in algebra. Another thing, so this isn't a don't do, this is kind of please do. Use parentheses, right? And use them. Often it's not overuse of parentheses is not going to get you in trouble, but not using them. So if you have something like, I'll show you. Let's do an example. Let's see if you guys remember how to do this. Let's say I told you f of x was x squared plus 1. And I asked you to find f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Anyone tell me how to do that?
Substitute the equation in for f of x, and you substitute x plus h in for x.
Okay, so this guy we're going to write as, instead of x squared, we're going to write x plus h squared. Right, okay, then what?
Then minus x parentheses x squared.
So here's one way in which a parentheses is super important. When you're subtracting something, if it has several terms, right? Even if it's one thing, just put the parentheses in. Once you're subtracting something, just put it in parentheses, just to be safe, right? That is, it's super important to put parentheses there. Okay. That is a very common mistake. This is going to be an expression we're going to use all the time. You've probably seen it in algebra and pre-calc a lot, and we're going to actually talk about what that expression means. But I will be asking you to use this expression every now and then, and a common mistake is that students often forget to put the parentheses here, and then they forget to actually distribute the negative and things like that. You don't want to do that. And a lot of times a student will tell me that, oh, you know, in my head I know it's there and I know I'm, you know, when you're in a test and you're doing a problem and you're worried and you're anxious and I'm like, oh, 5 minutes left, you're going to forget all the things you think you know. You need to write it down on paper and make sure you're doing the correct thing. Okay? So use your parentheses, especially if you're subtracting something. you need to put it all in parentheses. There are going to be a lot of other rules that have things in them where you're going to use parentheses. So we're going to talk about some, for example, like the chain rule. There's going to be a part of it where I'm going to recommend that you always put in parentheses so that you know to distribute things. Okay? So that's another. So those are some common mistakes that I see in terms of algebra. But we'll talk about that. I'll, for a while at least, when I'm doing things and I'm working things out, I'll emphasize it. Remember to put your parentheses. Remember to do this. Moving on to the next part of the syllabus, contact. Okay. So I will be contacting you. So I'll be sending you electronic report cards, things like that. If there are any important announcements, I'll send you by your college email. That's on Blackboard. So make sure you check that regularly, as well as you might get emails from the college. So check that regularly. Moving on to feedback. I highly encourage feedback. We're all in this together. I want you all to do well. You should be talking to me. You should always be checking in with me, making sure everything is cool. But yeah, give me feedback about my teaching in the class. Just make it constructive. So don't just be like, your teaching sucks! You know, be like, your teaching sucks because, you know, you don't do this, you don't do that. It's probably better that you do this. Oh, you're moving too fast here. And we'll discuss things to try to get everyone on the same boat, because, you know, it's hard to actually take a class of like maybe 30 people, 20 people here, and get them all to move as one. You know, some people catch on faster than others, but you need to keep me in the loop on where you are. And in that same vein, that brings us to the next section, which is help. Tons of resources to help you. As I said, there's a math help room upstairs, 4th floor, room 410. The schedule, I believe, is 9:30 in the morning to like 4:30 in the evening. They're currently compiling the roster, so I can't be sure exactly when. But usually Monday through Fridays, between 9 and 5-ish, you're going to be able to get help. There'll always be a faculty representative as well as, you know, student helpers there to help you out with any difficulties you might have. If you're going over the homework, you need the extra help. Because in class, I'm not going to really dedicate much time to going over homework problems per se, unless there's something really pressing. So you're really going to want to go over homework on your own with classmates, with friends at the help room, and so on and so forth. So you can go there. Tons of online resources you can use. So there's things like Wolfram Alpha. You guys know about Wolfram Alpha? So I'll probably talk about that maybe one day. I'll actually use the projector and actually show you something. But it's really nice. You can go and you can ask it to help you solve math questions and things like that. So you can actually tell it, let's say you forgot what this is. You actually didn't remember that you had to FOIL. You could literally go to Wolfram Alpha and type something like expand x plus 2 squared. You can type that into it and it will give you this. It might draw a picture for you. It'll do all sorts of crazy stuff. If you get the pro version, and it will actually show you the steps when solving a problem. So it's really cool. I don't have the pro version, but I often just check my work. If I go through a problem and I'm not sure if I have the right answer, I might just type in Wolfram Alpha and double check. But yeah, you can often type in English, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more as the semester goes on. But it's a really nice website. Another nice website for things like that is Symbolab. So, do you guys know about Symbolab? Has anyone ever used it? Okay, so that one is also like Wolfram Alpha to some extent. That one allows you to put in templates. So you can actually tell it to actually type in a mathematical problem and put it in a template. And you can put the symbols in, and then it will actually work it out for you. It will show you the steps, and you don't have to get a pro version or anything like that. But the thing is, with the difference between that and Wolfram Alpha, I'd say in Wolfram Alpha, let's say you have no idea what problem you should be solving, you can often type something in English, and it will kind of guide you. Let's say, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here, you can do that. But in Symbolab, you have to kind of know what you need to calculate and actually enter that precise thing. So there are other things, YouTube, Khan Academy, Paul's online math notes, all that stuff. And sometimes if you're having trouble with a topic, you can Google the topic, do your research. So online there are many resources there as well. but really, I think talking one-on-one with someone is probably going to be the best thing because you have that interaction. So go to tutoring, see me. Those are your first line of defense. If you're at home and it's like midnight and obviously you can't talk to me or see a tutor, then you can use these online resources. Don't forget your classmates. I highly encourage you to, I realize that some of you already know each other, but actually try to get the contact information of someone else. Try to form a little group so if you can study with your classmates. On the next page, so we do have student disability services here. Obviously, you're going to, if you think you have a disability that might affect your performance, you should probably go talk to these guys. I put their web address here, but you'll want to check in with them during the first week of class because you might be entitled to accommodations that will allow you to, have a fair shot at doing well in the class. So you should do that, and you should inform me. You don't have to be specific, but you should inform me that, I should expect some documentation regarding this. Class rules: no cell phones, no eating, pay attention. It's okay if you drink. I understand if you need your coffee, that's fine. Just be sure to remove your garbage. This is the policy on academic integrity. You can find it here. Basically, don't cheat. You kind of know what it is, but I put a little blurb right there. And below that, there are important dates that you should be aware of that might affect you during the semester. So classes begin today, and our final exam week is actually starting on May 8th. So you can see here when there's spring recess, when you have the last day to withdraw from classes, it looks here like March 21st. So hopefully by that date, I would give you so many quizzes and so many tests, and we'll have gone through enough for you to be sure, should I stick around? But hopefully you all get to stick around and we'll all do very well in it. Next is the list of topics that you're going to be doing. So these are the topics that we're going to go through, and as well as the assigned problems from the textbook that you're going to want to do. So now you have the homework ahead of time. You can even move ahead. In fact, I highly encourage you to read ahead in this class. It'll make things easier when I'm going through the class. It won't feel so fast when you actually have your mind marinating on the ideas before. You don't have to do anything serious, but review the topic. You see a topic there, type in a Google search, read a few sentences about it, maybe try a few problems. Just kind of, get a head start on the topics here. So you have the list there, and as well as the homework problems. In terms of if you can find the textbook in the library, I don't have specific information about that, but you can actually look into that. And on the last page, you have a questionnaire. I'd like you to take a couple minutes to fill out, and once you fill it out, just detach it and hand it to me when you're leaving. So the class ends at, you can get my, can write down my web address, so it's right there. You can find it. And I'll bring some extra copies next class. So surveys are just so I kind of have an idea of your relationship to math, how well you guys feel about it. Whether you're in the right class, because as I said, they're like 3 different versions of Calc 1, so I want you to make sure, that's what that first question is about, for you to be sure that you're actually in the right version for your major. But otherwise, it will give me a nice idea about the demographic, what majors I'm really teaching, and what examples. That will also affect what examples I do in class or what I emphasize. Really nice to see what kind of students I am. And if you don't have a syllabus, because you can, I'll bring copies to the next class and you can fill it out then. But otherwise, just fill it out now. In the meantime, are there any questions, concerns? Yes?
Do you get extra credit?
Not really, but I do grade on a curve, so I put a lot of effort into individually grading each student and looking at what they've done and how they've improved over the course of the semester. So you can, in that way, you can think of your improvement as extra credit. So I understand that some students might, they start off rough, you know, they forgot a lot over the break. So they come in the first few quizzes and tests, they really kind of bombed it. But at the end, by the end of the class, I really see that you got up to a decent level. I'm kind of going to ignore the first part.
So I think this class without printout background, so I'm going to take printout.
Did you take algebra?
Algebra
Okay. Were you very good at algebra?
1.
Oh, we'll talk about it. You should probably talk to me then.
Or should I drop out?
Talk to me. See me during my office hours, which I will. They are Mondays and Wednesdays. I know we're here on Tuesdays.
Tomorrow we have.
The thing is, I teach a lot of classes back to back, so I can't really have office hours close to this time. But you see me during my office hours, and we'll talk about it. Yeah. I'm not gonna. Well, technically they're not pop quizzes. There will be a quiz every week. You know there's gonna be a quiz, like every week, like every Tuesday. Right? So after every Tuesday you will have a quiz. Right? So it'll be at the beginning of class, short 10-15 minutes, and then we get into the lesson. Okay?
So there's not going to be a midterm for this class when the finals?
No, there are going to be midterms. If you look in the topics list, you'll see that there are exams. You should have 4 exams. The exams I will announce about a week before they're.
So that all has to be like the midterm.
So those are the midterms. Yeah, those are the in-class test grade. Yes.
So the final is cumulative.
Yes.
These 4 tests, are they going to be?
The tests are not.
Okay.
The tests are only, and it's listed there. The test, it says exam 1 on topics this through that.
Okay.
So the tests in class are not cumulative, but the final is cumulative. So and again, that's a part of the improvement thing. So if you bomb test 1, but then you do well on the final, including the material that was on test 1, then I'd realize, oh, you know, he really mastered his weaknesses, and then I won't worry about it. Yes.
So homeworks that you have for every week, are they also shown Tuesdays?
Okay, so how homework is going to go, it is due the class after I complete the section. Okay, so let's say this class I'm teaching and I've covered section 1, the homework for that section is due the following class. Okay, and if there's a class that we have 2 small sections and I actually complete 2 sections in class, then those 2 sections of homework are due the next class. Yeah, so homeworks are on a rolling basis, and the tests as well, because it depends if I have to slow down or speed up. I'll shift the tests and the homework sort of roll. Yeah.
Can we get the textbook in the bookstore?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. But I'm not sure if it's available in the library as well. If you don't want to have a math textbook and you just want to read it, you can probably check out the library. Other questions? So you see my office hours there. I can also probably meet you at other times by appointment, so you just email me. They're moving things around in the math department, so right now I'm in a temporary office, so next week I'll probably be somewhere else. So I didn't put the office location there, but for this week I'll be in 416. But other than that, well, it's kind of all I wanted to talk about, but we're not done because I have a present for you guys. First quiz of the semester. Yes. Okay, so put your stuff away. Let's see how much you remembered from last semester. And this will probably be a good gauge for my friend who didn't do pre-calc.